Well, hi, everybody. It's another Conversations with, and I'm Dick Vaughn, and today I'm delighted to have two delightful women with me. I have Laura Cressetti, and I have Laurie Nelson, and they're from Christopher Heights Assisted Living,
Yes.
and that's in Webster. Am I correct?
You're correct.
Wonderful. You know, that's a wonderful title, and it sounds great, but why don't you tell us a little bit about what Christopher Heights Assisted Living really is and what they do?
Christopher Heights Assisted Living. We're an 83-unit assisted living community. We serve the 62 and over population, and we provide, it's basically housing with services. It's
Oh,
not,
wow.
yes, they're individual apartments, and if people need assistance with personal care, they can get that up to an hour and a half of personal care assistance per day. The meals are provided, prepared by a chef, 3 meals a day, and they're prepared in a commercial kitchen, and they're brought to the dining rooms where half of the residents have their meals on one floor, the other half have their meals on the other floor, and they engage in great conversation and wonderful opportunities for socialization over their meals, and it's a wonderful time.
Well, but you know, that sounds great. Now,
It is great.
so, yeah, but what I'm saying is, you know, it gives these folks a chance. They obviously interact. They make
Very
new
much so.
relationships. They make new friends.
Absolutely.
You know, and you hear some of these, you know, sad stories where sometimes they have no relatives or they have nobody visits them and so forth. And you hear some of these sad stories. But yet, at the other hand, they've made all kinds of new friends.
That's exactly the case. And there are some people there who either have no family or they have family who live far away.
Yeah.
But they have new family, basically, at Christopher Heights, whether
Yeah.
it be their neighbors or the staff. We're all like family at Christopher Heights.
Oh, wow.
It's very nice.
Wow. So there's now that you have 83,
83 apartments.
right? Mm-hmm. And so they have like a little apartment.
They do. It is a little apartment.
With beautiful amenities.
Yes, and Laura can maybe go into some of
Yeah, tell us. So what are they like? Is it like a 2-room, 3-room? What is it?
Well, we have different size apartments.
Yeah.
The apartments can range anywhere from a studio to an alcove to a 1-bedroom apartment with plenty of square footage in each one of them. People are able to bring in their own personal furniture as well as their own wall hangings and amenities to be able to make their place their own. It's really quite a beautiful setting and setup. So not only do they have their own personal apartments to be able to enjoy, but then they have the common space throughout the community, which is absolutely gorgeous. You walk in just to the lobby, and it just is simply stated, but absolutely breathtaking as soon as you come in. It's a place that you literally immediately walk through, and you think to yourself, this is a place that I could definitely call your home. And
So that's the purpose is to make them feel at home.
absolutely.
yes.
Absolutely. And literally the individuals that are coming in could come in based on wanting to come in or needing to come into that type of setting. But either way, it allows people that opportunity to experience quality of life that they ultimately may not be experiencing in their own home. So it's exciting for me as the Director of Marketing and Admissions to be able to take people for a tour through and let them watch the actual interactions between staff and the residents that are living there. It's a beautiful place.
So now, but you mentioned they have to be 62 or over.
Mm-hmm.
So you conceivably could have people who go in at 62 and be there for 20 years.
Certainly.
Oh, absolutely.
We've had people who have been there for, I think the longest resident lived there for 13 years.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
And that's great.
It was wonderful.
No, but in addition to that, there must be activities for them, and
There is.
I mean, you got to keep them busy.
Well, I like to call it a cruise ship without the water. The place runs anywhere from about 7:30 in the morning until about 9 o'clock in the evening with all sorts of activities. You name it, they're doing it. They're focused on breakfast when they first get up in the morning, and then, of course, they have an activity or exercise or somebody coming in to do some form of an entertainment, as well as then they move on to the next meal, snacks in between. The country kitchens are beautiful to be able to utilize not only personally for themselves, but they're attached to the dining room. So if individuals want to use the country kitchens, they're more than welcome to use them.
What's a country kitchen?
The country kitchen is just an area that you can go in and utilize the stove or the microwaves or the coffee.
So they got a little kitchen.
Yeah, it's a beautiful little kitchen that they can
So
utilize.
they could go in and do their own breakfast if they really wanted to.
If they would like to, sure. But we offer up the 3 meals per day, and most people say, I'm
Oh,
going to
yeah.
do this
I'm all
instead
set,
because
yeah.
yes, and
Yeah,
we have an
that would be
executive
my
chef.
choice,
Yeah.
We actually had a lady who moved in, And her biggest concern was that she wanted to be able to make sure that she could still prepare the food that she always liked to prepare. She made homemade soups and all different things. And we told her, yes, you can, as long as it's not within the hour just before the meals are being served. And about a month and a half after she moved in, I went over to her. I said, Ruth, what have you made? Have you been in the kitchen cooking? She said, oh, are you kidding me? She said, I don't want to cook anymore. I've been cooking for 50 years.
Yeah, yeah.
In fact, here, have my recipes. And actually, our chef made her ham and barley soup probably the week after that.
Wow.
She has no interest anymore in cooking her meals. I think she just wanted to know that she could if she wanted to.
Well, I think that's what I was going to say. One of the situations is one of the most difficult things in the world for people to do is change. Because remember, we are all creatures of habit.
Yes.
I used to do seminars on the road, and I always used to start out and say, I'm going to scare the heck out of you folks today, because I'm going to ask you to change, and I know it's not going to be any fun. And by the way, if you think change is easy, I would say, how many people here are married? Well, probably 75 to 80% of the room would put their hand up, and another group had a roommate. Good. I said, well, if you think change is easy, here's what I want you to do tonight. When you go home after this seminar and you're ready to go to bed tonight, I want you to get in on the other side of the bed and see what happens to you. Let me give you the scenario. What are you doing on my side of the bed? Well, gee, honey, I thought this was our bed. It is, but this is my side of it.
That's right.
And everybody would laugh. But it's true. Because one of the things that you do, whatever you do the first thing in the morning, you do every morning. You don't change. And I started to laugh when I was doing my own seminars. When I shave in the morning, I always started on this side of my face. I don't know why. Probably because I'm right-handed and it was faster. So every once in a while, I will automatically start shaving on this side,
Good
just
for
to
you.
break the habit.
Good.
Because I say, how am I going to do a seminar and tell everybody else that I'm going to ask them to change? But change is difficult.
It is.
So from her perspective, she wanted to make sure she could still live her lifestyle.
That's right.
And once she got in there and realized, hey, wait a minute, this is a better gig.
That's
Yeah.
it.
And so that's great.
And it's true what you say about change, but you stop and think also, think about how so many changes that people have gone through, especially older people, when you think of it from the time they were young until now. Imagine the things that have changed. So I think as
I'm
much as we're
103, so I
resistant,
can tell you some stories.
as much as we're resistant to change,
Yeah.
I think many times that's part of our being resilient, is
yeah.
being able to embrace that change
Well,
and go through it.
the thing I always tell people, I remember when I could run up and down a ladder. Now I got to go one step at a time, and I got to be a little more careful.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
But it's true. As we get older, we simply can't do the things we used to do,
That's
or
right.
at least not as well anyway.
You're
And
absolutely right.
and we have to take it easy and be careful. But I'm sure there are 100 stories like that lady.
So many.
I mean, I'm
so
sure you
many.
folks can tell some great, really, really super stories.
Absolutely. In
about
my
people.
time doing what I've been doing, I have found that the process of communicating with individuals as they're coming through the doors has been really interesting for me, because of the fact that you realize that, again, most people are making the choice based on the fact that they are getting older,
Yeah.
and they know that it's time for them to make choices like this. And when they finally get in the door, they wish that they had done it a little bit sooner, because of the fact that they realized that they were able to discover and experience the quality of life that they had been wishing that they had been
Right.
doing when they were at
Well,
home.
when it goes back to change, people like to hold on to what they have.
Absolutely.
My wife's dad is played in the National Hockey League back in the 50s from Canada originally, and is now almost 90, and drives him crazy that he can't go play golf anymore.
Right.
And you see that, and you go, wow. And then he's got this huge house
Yeah.
that he won't part with. There's 5 kids. Jen is the second oldest, and the 5 bedrooms are still intact. I mean, Jen can go home tonight and her bedroom's there.
Is that right?
There it is.
Yeah.
And it's just what it is. And so to your point, they ultimately make that change.
They do. And the transition.
And a lot of times too, you get kids. The family will say, "Mom, it's time," or "Dad,
Yes.
what are you doing in the big house?"
Absolutely.
you know.
right.
Absolutely. And I think the transition itself is a wonderful opportunity for people and their families to become more a family than more as caregivers that they were
Yeah.
before. So it creates a really neat dynamic for those individuals to truly become a family again. And it provides a lot more opportunities for the parent to now be able to show their children something new
Yeah.
there at the community.
Well, but you must have like nurses on staff, and you must have physicians available for them.
No, we're not a medical facility.
No, I understand, but people get sick.
People get sick, right, and they have access to their medical doctors.
Oh, they do.
They do, yes.
Oh, good.
But not, the doctors don't come
Oh,
into
no,
Christopher Heights.
No, they go to them.
They go to them, correct.
Oh, good.
Yes. We have a
Okay.
resident care manager who is a nurse, and we have patient care attendants that actually provide the actual additional services
Right.
that people may need for bathing, dressing,
Yep.
grooming, and whatnot.
Right.
But overall, most people try to remain as independent as possible with the assistance
Well,
of
but
these
it's sometimes
individuals.
you must have a situation where somebody just gets to the point where they can't do much for themselves.
Yes, that's true. At that point, we have, our resident service manager likes to refer to it as a gentle move.
Yeah.
We have conversations with family. As we see people starting to decline,
Yeah.
we stay in close contact with the family so that everyone's on the same page and we kind of know
Yeah.
pretty much where things are headed.
Where they are, yeah. Yeah. No, I would, because that's a, it's a function of life,
That's
you know,
right.
and you start with a population, probably average age is what, 73, 74 of your population.
Absolutely.
And, they get moving along.
That's true.
And there's a time when they got to, face reality. And that must be sometimes a difficult conversation.
Yes.
It's always a difficult conversation because once people get there and they realize how much it really adds to their
The joy
quality
of
of
it,
life.
yeah.
That's right. They're not ready to
They
leave.
don't want to give it up.
That's right.
No, and that's, that's what it is. I mean, it goes back to what my dad always said: "You're only going this way once. Make sure you have one good trip.
That's
That's
right.
right.
You don't you never get a chance to come back and try it again.
That's it.
You know,
Do
You're
it right the
absolutely
first time.
But that's intriguing, and so now let's talk about the process. Somebody calls up and says, "My mother, my father," or they call it. Is it usually a family that
Usually a
initiates
family
it?
member will call up and they will just place the call into myself,
Yeah.
and I would do a lot of the intake. I would take an inquiry and I would obviously invite them over to tour the community. Then we would either fill out an application present or literally give it to them.
But at some point, you talk to the person who's going to be coming.
Absolutely. And then at that point, we would take the tour throughout the community so that way they can see exactly what is being offered at
Right.
at the community. And in most cases, people take the applications back, they complete them, they get them back into my hands, and then we are able to continue the process of which we would need to follow. And really depending on the person's needs as well as their financial situation
Yep.
would be dependent on how quickly the process moves along. One of the things that I can state is that Christopher Heights is a very progressive group of individuals, I should say, who have really thought twice about trying to maintain the dignity of individuals coming into this type of a community. And what's been very important is that they've focused on people who are obviously spending down their money and needing to potentially go on to a low-income type of situation
Yep.
or into a having mass health. And if that was a need, individuals are able to maintain their apartment when they move in and stay where they're at. They would never have to move out, and they would obviously be able to remain as independent as possible, receiving the same types of services and amenities that anybody coming in on market would
Right.
be getting as well. So that to me is a tremendous thing to have offered to individuals,
yeah.
because not every state offers up low-income tax credits, as well as offers up the opportunity for people to be on mass health in assisted living. So that's very important.
Yeah.
When you're looking for this type of community, an assisted living community, you want to make sure that they
Yeah.
have opportunities for people to remain in place,
Yeah.
in their own apartment, not having to share with other people because of the fact that that in itself is can be an undignified manner of which people would be living.
Yeah.
So it's important to us to make sure that people feel whole as they age.
Right. So there is actually a process. So they'd come and talk to you,
Correct.
and you discuss it, and make sure that it's right for them. I would think there's that issue too.
Absolutely.
And because depending on their own health,
Absolutely.
they got to be able to function.
Yes.
That's right.
Yes. And if I can expound on that statement, one of the things, again, that Grantham Group, who owns Christopher Heights, offers up is this Trias program. And the Trias program allows people to come in for anywhere from a month to 3 months to be able to try the community out, to see if it fits within the
Right.
lifestyle of which they're looking for. And that in itself is a wonderful offering for
Right.
anybody to come in
No,
and
but,
try.
But think about that, because it is. Look, this is, no matter how you look at it, this is a huge change
Yes.
It is.
for these people, whoever it is. I mean, I'm putting myself in the place now. I mean, we've got a place on the lake, and I have a car, and I can do. All of a sudden, that's a huge change.
Absolutely.
A
You know,
major life change.
That's right, and you got to be ready for that and able to handle it. You know, so it's something that they really. But that Try It program, what a great thing!
It really is.
Because if it works, wonderful.
Right.
But if it doesn't work, it saves a lot of problems.
That's right.
And a lot of anguish down the road. If it ends up not being for them, that's fine. But at least you found out.
That's right.
You know, and you understand it. And by the same token, they go in there, and if they're enjoying it, then they know they found a nice place
Exactly.
and a place for
Right.
them.
It takes the pressure off of people when they come in to be able to do the Trias program, because of the fact that people, again, will make decisions knowing fully that there's a lot of preparation that goes into moving into this type of communities, and maybe some people don't feel as though that they're quite ready, or that this potentially could be for them. So when you come in on a Trias type of program, it takes the pressure off, and
Yeah.
it allows them to be able to just enjoy the process and feel like potentially that they're
Yeah.
on vacation instead.
Right.
And then when they get there, they realize, wow,
Yeah.
this is great. I'm offered up recreation. I'm offered up great meals. I'm offered up housekeeping, laundry,
Right.
maintenance, social services, anything.
Well, I think it's a
name it.
great thing because, too, you eliminate a situation where maybe the family says you need to go, but the person doesn't want to go.
Right.
And so it's you're able to work on that. And if that's the case, you can solve that problem.
Yes.
You know, right up front. Because if somebody's talked into it, you know, then they got a problem.
That's right.
Exactly.
You know, and you folks can judge that right off the bat.
In fact, that's one of the things that we ask when we're doing an assessment. When we're meeting afterwards, we always ask, does the person want to be here? And that's a key factor in a person's ability to transition well.
I used to have it in my office when I had the radio stations. I had a big sign up behind my desk, and it was YAGOTTA You gotta wanna.
Yes.
And I used to say to people, you know, on the staff, I point to my sign, you gotta wanna.
Yes.
Because if you don't wanna, this is the worst place in the world for you.
Right.
Is
Absolutely.
working at the radio station. You gotta wanna, and the same is true, you know, because it's going to cause problems. If they really don't want to be there, you're going to pay a price for that.
Everyone
Right.
will pay a price,
Yeah,
actually.
because they're going to start talking to other people,
Right.
and it's going to be a problem. So it's what a great. I mean, I'm just impressed with how you cover all these little bases to make sure that somebody is going to be, even the Try It program, to make sure that they're going to enjoy it and have fun.
We do. We try very, very hard every day, and I think Lori would probably say the very same thing, that the staff at Christopher Heights are the type of individuals that become a part of the fabric of
Yeah.
the community. The only way that you know that they're staff is because of the fact that they have designated
Right.
shirts or outfits, but otherwise you see the love that completely
Yeah.
exudes from each and every one of those individuals.
But
True.
you think about it, and then I'm sure there's situations where if somebody's there and the family's a distance and they're not getting some visitors, that you're aware of that, and you can make sure that they're not going to end up being isolated.
Always, that's right.
You know that there's now let's talk about holidays, because I mean that's my favorite holiday is Christmas, of course, because I learned a long time ago that there really is a Santa Claus.
There is.
Yes, there really
He
is.
comes every year. And I've always argued that if we could only find a way to take the 23rd of December to the 25th at midnight and keep people in that same frame for the rest of the year, we would have some fun.
Wouldn't
You
that be
have
wonderful?
just
Something happens
hit
on
it
the
on
morning
the
of the
head.
26th
Yes.
Absolutely.
when they, you know,
All the
watch out.
returns
That's
happen.
right.
But at the same time, it's always a fun time.
Of
I mean, I
course.
love it. I start looking forward to it at Labor Day. I can't wait for Santa to come again.
Yes.
And I used to tell my kids as they grew up and suddenly realized that it was me, and I would talk to them and say, nope, there really is a Santa Claus.
Yes.
I said, and he comes every year, and he brings joy, and he brings happiness, and so forth.
Absolutely.
And so there must be, over at Christopher Heights, when you have these big holidays, Thanksgiving and Christmas, it must be a lot more fun.
The celebrations are just, they're wonderful.
You must have birthday parties.
Birthday parties every month, and we celebrate whoever has a birthday that month. We have a cake, and there's a dance, and it's a big deal. But as far as Christmas is concerned, that actually, Christmas at Christopher Heights begins the day after Thanksgiving. The decorations go up, and there are many decorations. Our residents get involved in helping us decorate. It's beautiful,
Wow.
and there are all kinds of activities going
But
on.
how much
nowadays.
fun is that to let them decorate and help
They do,
put the
yeah.
things on the tree?
We have several Christmas trees, and in fact, one of our Christmas trees that we have on the second floor in the country kitchen, it's dedicated to. We have a celebration of life every year, and what that started from was we had a resident who had passed away, and her family had the services in the Boston area,
Yeah.
and a lot of our residents weren't able to attend.
Oh, wow.
So I had suggested that we have one of the gentlemen who comes in to hold a religious service every month. He came to do this celebration of life. So it was, and we basically decided we were going to honor every person who had been a member of that community that year who had passed away that year.
Right.
And prior to that, the activities department will sit with the residents who want to make ornaments for the tree, and they'll put the person's name on the
Oh,
ornament.
wow.
And we've actually had family members of residents who have passed who have come in for the celebration of life, and then
Wow.
they put all the ornaments on the tree. So
How
that's
great
that's
is that?
It's wonderful,
Yeah.
and it helps the residents who are there to be able to acknowledge
And
the
to deal with
importance.
it.
That's
Because
right.
you know what happens? Look, they develop relationships.
Absolutely.
They become buddies.
Yes,
They
they
do.
do.
You know, and then they lose them, and they're just devastated.
That's right.
Absolutely.
You know, I mean, their
Absolutely.
next door neighbor, you know, is gone, and that's never fun.
It's
No.
no, and it's
And so by making it a positive, you know,
so it's a very touching part of our holiday celebration.
and I'm sure they all look forward to it.
They do.
yeah.
They really do.
Yep.
It's
Yeah.
nice.
This
No, it-
community knows how to party, Dick.
I had a chance.
They know how to party.
I had a chance once in my, well, a lot of times, way back. You people are too young, but there used to be a group of stores called W.T. Grant's,
Yeah.
and there was one of them in Ware, and Bill Francis was the manager of the Grant store, and he had a beautiful, beautiful Santa Claus costume that he had his first Santa Claus, and I used to borrow it. I'd go in at 3 o'clock on the 24th, and that was when Santa would leave, and I'd take the suit, and that night I'd go around. We lived in a cul-de-sac, and I would dress up, and I'd have to put a bunch of pillows, and I would go out and go to each one of the houses
How
in the
nice.
neighborhood. And then one year, I was chair of a school building committee, the elementary school. And the first year we had a Christmas party, I went and Santa Claus came. And I'm also a mama. I'm in the Furco String Band of Philadelphia.
Nice.
And one year we had costumes. We did the Bengal Lancers. And we actually had black British riding boots for the costume.
Wow.
And so I went to the elementary school, and I had the costume on, and it was before Christmas, and I had the real boots. I wore my own real boots, and two little first graders were standing in front of me, and I was on the stage giving out presents. And one kid says, "That's a real Santa Claus." And the kid says, "What do you mean?" He says, "He's real. I know he's real. That's really him." And the kid says, "How do you know?" He says, "Because he doesn't have those fake boots on. He's
the
got
real
real
deal.
boots." I'm laughing, and I'm saying, "Wow, you know how much like two little kids realized that they weren't those little fake boots that some of them wear."
Wow.
They see more than we think they see.
Oh yeah, I mean these are two 6-year-old kids. He's real because he hasn't got those
Isn't
fake
that
boots.
funny? Great story.
But if you have never seen the look on kids' faces through Santa Claus eyes, and I've had that opportunity, it is delightful.
Oh.
And I am sure that the same is true of those people who are in their 60s and 70s and 80s, you know, for Santa to look in those faces and how much fun they have.
No doubt.
It's a lot of fun.
You know, it really has to be. So it's a great fun. You guys obviously are enjoying what you do.
So much.
We love it. We do.
Very, very much.
It's very rewarding in many different ways, but at the same time, you feel the fulfillment of family.
I have to be honest. I had the pleasure. It's some years ago, but I had some people from Christopher Heights on the radio station, and during the conversation, one of them said, "You remind me of George Burns," and I chuckled because I've met George Burns. My grandmother, my father's mother, was in Ziegfeld Follies.
Ooh.
She was an entertainer, and that's where George Burns got his start.
Nice.
So my Nana Vaughn, knew George Burns.
Wow.
Beautiful.
I was about 12 years old, and George was in Boston doing a show. And my dad, of course, knew him. He was a little kid when his mother was in the Ziegfeld Follies with George Burns. And so my dad called him up, and we went in. I was 12. We went in and met him at the hotel. And George came down, gave my dad a big hug. You know, of course, he hadn't seen him for years. And I met George Burns. And my father looked just like him. And so as I got older and my hair turned gray, people say, "You sound just like George Burns." So I have a pair of glasses and I have a cigar.
Oh, that's great.
And some years ago, when someone said that to me, I said, so I ended up over at Christopher Heights. And I told the ladies the story. There was a delightful lady who obviously grew up with George Burns. And really, really, really got into the little ditty that I did that day. And didn't want me to leave, you know. And we sat and I chatted with her for a while. And I had a delightful, delightful time. And I made this lady happy.
Oh.
You know?
I'm sure you did.
And it was such a great joy for me because she was just, and they took a picture of her and I. So, and they told me later that they had it framed and put it in her little room. And because she had a picture with her and everybody who went in the room.
To see it.
That's George and me.
Isn't that great?
Oh, that's
It's George
great.
and me. And
Beautiful.
so I had that opportunity. So it is delightful and it's really fun. So now, what do people, let's take a minute. If someone's watching and they said, gee, maybe my mother or my dad, what do they have to do?
They just have to call us up at 508-949-0400, dial up my extension at 106, and feel free to give me a call, and I'll be happy to set up a tour.
And they'll be
with you.
glad they can go take a tour.
Absolutely.
Yes.
So
Anytime.
there you are, folks. If anybody is sitting out there and you're thinking, gee, is the time come, there's a great opportunity, and the ladies will be more than happy to tour you around and show you the facility.
Absolutely.
Always.
It's a beautiful place.
Well, that's great.
And we'd like to invite you to come back also.
I'll have to do
George
that. And
Burns.
now you said a little minute ago you're a big party place.
We are a big
are,
party
You know
place.
how to throw a party.
We
so-
do.
Always,
As a matter of
yes.
fact, we joined the Day Kimball Homemakers down in Putnam last night, sponsoring their senior dance, which is probably made up of about
Do you have a
100.
prom?
No, but that's not out of the question. We can certainly consider that.
Yeah.
We do all kinds of things.
You got to have a senior prom.
Oh,
That's
yeah,
right.
Absolutely. We just had our spring fling,
Oh,
which was a
good.
great
Spring
dance.
fling, that's not all
Oh,
they
yeah.
are.
We were cutting
Yeah.
up the rug. And when I
They-
tell you, these people know how to party, everyone is up and dancing, having a great time.
Well, that's great.
Everyone is up and
It's
dancing.
so much fun.
It is.
So
Well,
much
that's
fun.
great.
Yeah.
Well, listen, I want to thank you both very, very much. It was delightful. It was great. And folks, you had an opportunity, and you can, if you have interest, you can reach out to the girls, and they'll be more than happy to take care of you and show you around. And if it's for you, you're all set. So there you have it, folks. That's another Conversations with